You can think about horror from many angles: restless spirit, haunted houses, that awkward moment then your lover turns out to be a maniac, or your sister is secretly a serial killer. But believe he went further, much further. What if your boss's severed head could still talk and talk and talk forever? That's what I call pure Russian sci-fi body horror. Professor Dowell's Head tells the touching story of a genius scientist who is minor inconvenience completely dead from the neck down. But don't worry, his former assistant Dr. Kern has kept his boss alive so he can help with some totally not immortal human experiments. Things get even messier when a new assistant, Marie, discovers that her job description apparently includes chatting with decapitated heads, aiding in Frankensteinish surgeries, and possibly stopping a murder conspiracy. Expect wild moral debates about the limits of science, except half of them are being delivered by a guy without lungs. The pacing is brisk, the science is charmingly 1920s wrong, and the villains are the kind of mustache twirlers who is so cartoonishly evil you expect them to start tying women to train tracks. In short, Professor Double's Head is like Frankenstein went on an exchange program to the USSR, drank too much vodka, and woke up missing most of his body. 9 of 10 for entertainment, 3 of 10 for actual surgical advice. What surprised me? Well, that a man with no body somehow being the most relatable character. Pseudoscience so confident you almost believe you can keep a brain alive with a desk fan and a car battery. A romance subplot that somehow ignores the fact that there is a talking head in the room. I laughed, I cried, I questioned my life choices. By the end, I was rooting for the head, which is not something I've ever said about a book before. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Would I take medical advice from it? Only if I also wanted my body replaced with spare parts from the local morgue. This book has everything: a bossy head in a jar giving unsolicited advice, sketchy experiments like attaching random heads to random bodies because apparently jigsaw puzzles weren't exciting enough. Naturally, this leads to drama, identity crisis, and at least one woman realizing her new body didn't come with a return policy. A reminder that job security as a scientist in Russian sci fi is about as stable as the professor's next situation. What follows is part horror, part sci fi, and part medical ethics? Never heard of it. It's a book where the phrase use your head gets taken way too literally and eventually inspired someone to make a movie. So someone read Belaev's novel and thought, Talking Head in Jar. That's cinema, baby. And thus we got not one but two film adaptations. Let's break it down. Professor Dowell's Testament, 1984 Soviet Union. Imagine a film where the tagline could be We promise shocking experiments that would make even mad scientists nervously update their resume. We deliver long conversations in dimly lit labs. The good news, the head actually looks pretty decent in a jar. The bad news, the pacing makes you wish you were just a head in a jar so you could roll off the table and escape. Performances? Not bad. Atmosphere? Gloomy in that we filmed this in an abandoned hospital basement way. Faithfulness to the book? Well, it's, let's say, it's inspired by rather than based on. If you wanted a shocking sci fi morality play, you'll get a lukewarm philosophy lecture with bonus jars. The Head in the House, 1989, China. This one is harder to find, but from what survives, it feels like someone took the novel, whispered into a game of telephone, and filmed whatever came out on the other end in poor translation. Heads roll, bodies swap, and logic checks out for absolutely no one. If you thought the original novel strained credibility, this version looks you dead in the eye and says, You ain't seen anything yet. My verdict: both adaptations prove one thing. No matter the country, no matter the decade, no director can resist the urge to stick a grunky scientist's head in a fish tank and call it high art. Watch them if you are curious, but don't expect horror or suspense. Expect lots of jars, some slow monologues, and a creeping suspicion that Belives deserves better. So, what's the deep moral lesson of Alexander Belives, Professor Dowell's Head? On the surface, it's about science pushing boundaries, but let's be honest, it's also about how awkward life gets when you're reduced to a floating noggin. You think philosophy classes is hard? Try arguing about the meaning of existence when you don't even have vocal cords and some underpaid assistant has to tilt your jaw so you don't miss the conversation. Philosophically, the book asks, what does it mean to be human? Is it the body? Belayev says, nah, bodies are optional, just mix and match like IKEA furniture. Is it the mind? Well, yes, but also good luck getting your mind respected when you are literally sitting on a shelf between the pickles and the formaldehyde. Is it morality? Apparently not, because every scientist in this book treats ethic like a coupon that expired last year. Ultimately, humans want to conquer death so badly, we'll happily invent technologies that let us live on as a giant grumpy goldfish substitute. Immortality achieved, as long as you don't mind never scratching your own nose again. In short, Belief's message is equal parts profound and ridiculous. Science without ethics reduces us to heads without bodies, and possibly to novels without happy endings. My conclusion is simple. Read Belief's Professor Dowell's Head if you want vintage sci-fi, ethical dilemmas, and the constant reminder that life really is better with a body. It's weird, it's brilliant, it's occasionally absurd, and honestly, it will make you think that shoulders are important way more than any yoga class ever could.
I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand. I felt the earth beneath my feet. Sat by the river and it made me complete. Oh, simple thing, where have you gone? I'm getting old and I need something to rely on. So tell me when you're gonna let me in. I'm getting tired and I need somewhere to begin.